The champagne was still cold in my glass when my mother stood up at my wedding reception. That smile on her face, the one that's always meant trouble. She raised her flute, and the entire room went quiet. "Reed's parents gifted you that gorgeous 2-week honeymoon to Santorini," she announced, voice dripping with rehearsed sweetness. "But we've decided it makes more sense to pass it along to Sloane and Garrett instead." My sister. Again. The string quartet kept playing, but I swear every heart in that room stopped beating. Reed's parents went pale. His hand tightened around mine, and I reached into my wedding clutch. What I pulled out 3 minutes later would shatter my mother's smile completely. Because 3 weeks earlier, I'd done something I never thought I'd have to do, and I came prepared. This is what happened when I finally said no. Before I tell you how this exploded, comment "scapegoat" if you've ever been the family member who always had to sacrifice while someone else got everything. I need to know how many of us there really are. The violinist hit a high note that made the crystal chandeliers hum. We were at the Cedar Room in Charleston, all exposed brick and Carolina sunset pouring through those massive windows overlooking the harbor. The kind of place that costs what most people make in a month, but Reed's parents insisted. Said their only son deserved magic. My bouquet smelled like magnolias and salt air. The 3-tier cake stood on the corner table, buttercream frosting so white it almost glowed. Reed's hand was warm in mine, his thumb making small circles on my wrist. The same gesture he'd done since our first date 4 years ago. His mother Geneva had just finished her toast. Sweet. Genuine. She'd cried real tears when she said, "We didn't just gain a daughter. We gained the daughter we always prayed for." His father Clark had squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "Welcome home, Bella." Then my mother stood. Champagne flute raised like a weapon disguised as celebration. That smile stretching across her face, the one I'd learned to read before I could read actual words. Bright. Perfect. Deadly. "I have wonderful news to share," she said, and my stomach dropped 6 floors. Reed's fingers tightened around mine. He felt it too. That shift in air pressure right before a storm breaks. "Reed's incredibly generous parents gifted you both that stunning 2-week honeymoon to Santorini." She paused for effect, like an actress who'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. "But your father and I have been talking with Sloane and Garrett, and we all agree it makes more sense to pass it along to them instead." The violin kept playing. Someone's uncle kept laughing at a joke that had ended 30 seconds ago, but everything else in that room crystallized into silence. "You two are already so settled," Mom continued, her voice honey poured over broken glass. "Sloane and Garrett really need it more." Geneva's champagne flute tilted in her hand. Clark's face went the color of old snow. Across the room, my sister Sloane stood in her sequined bridesmaid dress, light catching on every bead like tiny victories. That look on her face, the one that said she'd already packed her bags. Wait until you hear what I pulled from my clutch 3 minutes later. "That lawyer visit 3 weeks ago. About to save everything. If you've ever had family announce something about your life without asking, you'll understand what happened next. I need you to stay with me here. What happens next only makes sense if you understand how we got here. How this moment wasn't random. It was inevitable. My name is Bella Hartman. I'm 27. Born and raised in Tampa, Florida, in a house where the AC worked in every room except mine. Not a metaphor. Actual broken vents that Dad never got around to fixing because, "You're tougher than Sloane, honey. You can handle a little heat." When I was 9, Sloane, my younger sister, got the bedroom with the bay window overlooking Tampa Bay. I got the converted laundry room that still smelled like fabric softener and mildew. Mom's explanation? "She's more sensitive, Bella. She needs natural light for her art projects." My sister never finished a single art project. Not one. When I was 16, I worked weekends at a frozen yogurt shop in the mall, saving every dollar for a laptop I needed for college applications. 8 months of serving tourists and cleaning topping bars that smelled like artificial strawberry. Sloane turned 15 that same summer and got a brand new MacBook Pro wrapped in silver paper. Dad said, "She's taking a digital media class, she needs it for school." She used it exclusively to binge-watch shows and text boys who didn't text back. When I was 19, I got a partial scholarship to University of South Florida, 60% covered. The rest? I worked 2 jobs. Morning shifts doing room service at the Grand Hyatt Tampa Bay. Night shifts at a campus bookstore that smelled like old paper and energy drinks. I can still taste that burnt coffee at 11 p.m., the kind that's been sitting on the burner for 6 hours because it was free, and I was exhausted. My lower back ached so badly some nights I'd sleep on the floor because beds felt wrong. Sloane got rejected from 3 schools. Mom and Dad paid $73,000, full ride, for her to attend a private college in Austin, Texas. Better cultural fit, they said. Smaller class sizes. She needs more individual attention. She dropped out after a year and a half to find herself. Last I checked, herself was living rent-free in their Tampa guest house, posting about her journey on social media. The pattern was clear. I was the one built to endure. The one who didn't need help because I was designed to handle disappointment. I used to wear resilient, like armor. By 27, it felt like chains other people rattled when they wanted something. 6 months before my wedding, Reed's parents gave us a check. $10,000. Down payment help for a house. They handed it to us at Sunday dinner. Both their names on it, both our names on it. "You're building something real," Clark said. "Let us help you build it right." 2 weeks later, my mother called. "Sloane's struggling financially. Have you considered that she and Garrett need that money more than you do? Could you share it? That's what family does." I said no. First time in 27 years. Clean. Simple. No. Mom cried. Said I'd changed. That I'd become cold. That this man had turned me into someone she didn't recognize. That's when I went to the lawyer. Not paranoid. Prepared. What I prepared? Changed everything. Have you ever been the strong one who never got what you needed? Comment if this sounds familiar. Back to the reception. My mother's announcement still hanging in the air like smoke after a gun goes off. My father stepped up beside her, adding weight to the ambush. "We already cleared it with Garrett. October weather in Santorini is absolutely perfect." Geneva's voice came out shaking. "That gift was for Bella and Reed. We chose it specifically for them." My mother waved her hand, dismissive but gracious. The perfect blend she'd mastered years ago. "Oh, Geneva, please don't make this awkward. It's just a vacation. They can go somewhere more budget-friendly." "You understand?" I could feel my pulse hammering in my throat. The magnolia smell that had been so sweet 5 minutes ago suddenly turned sour in my nose. The salt air from the harbor felt suffocating instead of fresh. Around us, whispers started rippling through the tables like waves hitting shore. Phones coming out of pockets. Cameras angling toward us like we were the main event now. I reached into my clutch. My hand was steady. That surprised me. The envelope was cream-colored, heavy cardstock. Professional. The kind that says this isn't a joke. I pulled it out slowly. 3 pages inside, typed, notarized. That red stamp visible even from where my parents stood. The room shifted. People leaning forward in their seats. "This is a legal declaration," I said, my voice carrying clear across the room. "Executed 3 weeks ago. All wedding gifts made to Reed Donovan and Bella Hartman are legally protected assets. They cannot be transferred, reassigned, or redistributed without explicit written consent from both recipients." My mother's smile froze on her face, like ice forming on a windshield in slow motion. Sloane's mouth dropped open. The violin kept playing, but the musician wasn't paying attention to his own bow anymore. His eyes were on us. I continued, calm and measured. Any attempt to transfer said gifts triggers automatic legal review and potential civil action for conversion of property. You made a public claim. I'm giving a public boundary. My mother's voice came out as a hiss. You're threatening us. At your own wedding. No, I said. Not loud, not angry, just true. You made a gift you didn't own available to someone it wasn't intended for. That's not generosity, that's theft. Some might say I went too far, but they made it public first. I just matched their energy. That lawyer visit 3 weeks ago? That's where this came from. But wait until you see what Reed had on his phone. Subscribe so you never miss how to protect yourself when family oversteps. Reed moved beside me, pulled out his phone with the same calm precision he uses when he's closing a business deal. Turned the screen toward my parents. 2 nights ago, he said, his voice steady as steel, someone accessed our honeymoon reservation portal. My father's eyebrows shot up. Attempted to change the names on the booking, Reed continued. Swipe to the next screen. The IP address traces to Tampa, Florida. 20-47 Bayshore Boulevard. He paused. Let that sink in. Your home address? My father's face went red. That's an invasion of privacy. No, Reed said, glass calm. That's a security alert the resort sent us automatically. We have the documentation. Time-stamped. Would you like to see it? At this point, maybe you're thinking I went too far. So was I. Until I remembered. Sloan borrowed $3,000 from my savings account sophomore year, I said. Not to the room. Directly to my mother. Used my debit card without permission. Claimed it was a family emergency. Sloan's face went pale. The emergency was a week in Cabo with her ex-boyfriend Tyler. She never repaid a cent. And Mom, you told me to forgive her. That's what family does, right? I turned to my father. 8 months ago, she borrowed my car for a quick weekend trip. Returned it with a cracked windshield, empty gas tank, and fast food wrappers covering the back seat. You said I was overreacting when I asked her to cover the $400 in repairs. My mother tried to interrupt. I kept going. 4 months ago at Thanksgiving, Sloan told everyone at your table that she helped plan this wedding. The reality? She missed every single planning meeting, every dress fitting, every venue tour. She showed up today expecting a bridesmaid position she never earned. You've surfed on apologies I never received and consequences I always absorbed. Sloan's voice came out thin and defensive. That was years ago, Bella. The debit card, 3 years, 2 months. The car, 8 months, 12 days. The wedding planning lie, 16 weeks ago. Want me to keep going? Sloan's face flushed scarlet. My mother's champagne flute was trembling so hard the liquid was sloshing over the rim. My father's jaw clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grinding from 6 feet away. Someone's aunt gasped audibly behind us. Clark placed a protective hand on Geneva's shoulder. I reached back into my clutch. Pulled out one more envelope. This one had Sloan's name printed on the front. Tell me in the comments, Team Bella or Team She's Being Dramatic. I held the second envelope between 2 fingers. Different weight than the first. Heavier somehow. Sloan's full name was printed on the front in bold letters. Sloan Patricia Hartman. She stared at it like it might detonate in my hand. My mother reached for it. I pulled it back smoothly. Just a few inches. A boundary made physical, made visible. This, I said, my voice carrying across the silent room, is a cease and desist letter. If any further attempts are made to access, modify, or interfere with our honeymoon arrangements, our travel plans, or any wedding gifts, we will pursue legal action for harassment and conversion of property. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was dense, The kind that presses on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. The weight of truth suffocating every corner of that room. The only sound was harbor waves outside, distant and free. Geneva stood, walked to the microphone at the front of the room with her head high. Her voice rang clear and strong. "For absolute clarity," she said, looking directly at my mother, "the honeymoon we gifted to Bella and Reed is non-transferable. It was a personal gift, made with love. Anyone attempting to use those reservations will be denied entry. We've already contacted the resort to confirm this." Clark stood beside his wife. "Our gift. Our choice. Our daughter now." My mother's voice came out softer this time, almost pleading, wounded. "Bella, honey, you're being so dramatic. It's just a vacation. Why are you doing this to us? To your sister?" I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who'd trained me to be small so Sloane could be big. "No," I said. Not loud, not harsh, just true. "It's every vacation you gave her instead of me. Every opportunity handed to her while I worked 2 jobs. Every time you told me to be understanding while she got to be entitled." I paused. Let that settle into the room. "It's every birthday where her gifts cost hundreds and mine were thoughtful because they were cheap. Every time you said Sloane needs this more, like my needs were negotiable. You raised me to give. You taught Sloane to take. I'm done sacrificing so she can have everything without earning anything." My father stepped forward, trying to regain control. "You're making a scene. This is inappropriate." Reed's hand found mine, squeezed 3 times. "Our code. Our language." "You made the scene," he said calmly. "We're just refusing to be silent in it." My mother's smile finally cracked like porcelain. Sloane's tears started, right on cue. The victim performance beginning. Guests sat frozen mid-bite, forks suspended in the air. The string quartet looked at the wedding coordinator for guidance. The cake still stood there, perfect and untouched, oblivious to everything falling apart around it. I matched their public energy with public boundaries. Was that wrong? You decide. The reception continued. But what we found 3 days later proved this was all calculated from the start. Only subscribers see what evidence arrived at our door. Don't miss it. The reception kept going, stiff, uncomfortable, like everyone was suddenly aware they were part of something they'd tell their friends about later. Guests approached us in waves after that. Reed's family, our friends, even some distant relatives. Whispered, "Good for you," and "About time someone said it." Even some of my Tampa cousins pulled me aside. "We've seen this for years, Bella. We just didn't know how to tell you." My parents left 30 minutes later. No goodbye. My mother's face was a mask of controlled rage. My father wouldn't make eye contact. Sloane followed them out, mascara streaked down her face, phone already out, already crafting her victim narrative for social media. The honeymoon was exactly what we needed. 2 weeks in Santorini as planned. White buildings stacked against impossible blue water. Reed's hand in mine while we stood on cliff edges watching the sunset. No calls from my mother. No texts from Sloane demanding an apology. Just silence. The earned kind. The kind that felt like oxygen after years of holding my breath. Greek coffee in the mornings, bitter and perfect. Salt on our skin from swimming in the Aegean Sea. Sunsets that turned everything gold. Reed reading beside me on the balcony. No tension, no waiting for our phones to ring with the next crisis. It was peace. Real peace. We got back to Charleston on a Tuesday. Unpacked slowly, went to bed early. 3 days after we got back, we found something on our doorstep that changed everything. A FedEx envelope, waiting on our front porch. No return address, just a tracking number. Inside was a printed email chain, 47 pages. Between my mother, my father, and Sloane, planning, strategizing, for 6 weeks before the wedding. My mother's email, dated 3 weeks before the wedding, said, "If we announce it at the wedding reception, she won't be able to say no without looking selfish and ungrateful in front of everyone. She'll cave like always. Reed's parents will feel too awkward to object." It's perfect timing. Sloane's reply. Should I post pictures of the Santorini resort beforehand? Plant the seed on social media that I'm planning a trip there? My father's contribution. I'll back you up. We'll frame it as the sensible choice. They're already settled. Already have careers. Make it about practicality. Reed read over my shoulder. They planned this. For weeks. Yeah, I said, my voice hollow. They did. Part of me wanted to forward these emails to every single person who'd been at that wedding. Prove I wasn't overreacting. That this was premeditated manipulation. But the other part, the part that was finally learning what peace tastes like, knew something crucial. The truth doesn't need defending. It just needs protecting. What we did next? They never saw coming. Would you have exposed these emails publicly? Comment, expose, or move on. That same week we changed every lock in our house. Every door. Every window. New smart locks with codes only Reed and I knew. We went to my parents' house in Tampa and retrieved all the spare keys they'd kept. My mother had hidden an emergency spare in her kitchen drawer. For emergencies was always code for control. We updated emergency contacts next, removed my parents from every single list. Medical power of attorney now went to Reed, then Geneva if something happened to both of us. Financial emergency contacts, deleted. Insurance beneficiaries, adjusted. Work emergency contacts. Reed's parents replaced mine. Changing those locks felt like surgery. Painful but necessary. Cutting out something that looked like love but functioned like slow poison you don't notice until you're already sick. Here's what I learned. Boundaries without consequences are just suggestions written in disappearing ink. You can say no 1,000 times, but until you remove their access, physical, financial, emotional, they'll keep pushing. They'll keep testing, because they don't believe you mean it. I started therapy 1 week after the wedding. My therapist asked in our first session, "Do you feel guilty about the confrontation?" "Not even a little bit," I said honestly. She smiled. "That's growth. Guilt would mean you still believe their version of you. Does that make me cold? Or does it make me someone who finally learned that self-preservation isn't selfishness? That choosing peace over performance isn't cruelty?" 3 months later, a card arrived in our mailbox. Cream-colored envelope, expensive stationery, my mother's perfect handwriting. Inside, "We miss you. Family is forever. Come back when you're ready to forgive and be part of this family again." I stared at it long enough for the ink to stop feeling like a trap. Long enough to see it for what it was. Not an invitation to reconnect, an invitation to regress. I tore the card in half. The sound was quiet, almost polite. Dropped the pieces in the kitchen trash. Reed came up behind me, didn't say anything. Just wrapped his arms around my waist and waited. "You okay?" he asked finally. "I'm more than okay," I said. "I'm free." This is called the golden child and scapegoat dynamic. One child gets unconditional support and infinite chances. The other gets conditional love based entirely on how much they sacrifice and comply. They don't see themselves as wrong. They see you as difficult. That's the difference. If someone's treating your peace like their playground, hit subscribe. You're not alone. 5 months after our wedding, Sloane got married. Courthouse ceremony in Tampa. Quick. Simple. Reed and I weren't invited. No call, no email, no announcement. I found out through a cousin's Instagram story. Photo of Sloane in a simple white dress, Garrett beside her, my parents beaming in the background. I expected to feel something. Hurt, maybe. that familiar ache of being left out. Instead, I felt nothing, not numb, nothing, healed nothing, like a wound that finally closed and stopped demanding attention. Closure doesn't come from reconciliation, it comes from refusal. Refusing to step back into rooms that required you to shrink. The family group chats died around the same time. The thread that used to ping daily went silent. "Good morning, beautiful people." Messages stopped. "Who's hosting Sunday dinner?" debates vanished. Cousins stopped texting, asking me to pick a side in the drama. Weekly family Zoom calls continued, but I was never invited. It didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It felt earned, like I'd finally stopped watering dead plants and wondering why they wouldn't grow. 1 year after the wedding, we bought a house. Miss Pleasant, South Carolina. Charleston suburb. Small, cozy. Ours. Neighborhood with oak trees and marsh views. Sidewalks where people actually walk their dogs and wave at strangers. We had a housewarming party. Reed's parents brought a lemon tree for the backyard and a framed photo from our Santorini honeymoon. Geneva hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "You both look so happy," she said. "Really, genuinely happy." "We are," I told her. And I meant it with every cell in my body. The house smelled like lemon blossoms and fresh paint. Coffee in the morning without dread. Laughter that didn't need to be quiet. Doors that locked against the past. Marsh birds calling at sunset. Peace that didn't apologize for existing. If you've been told, "But they're family," remember this. Family is a verb, not a noun. It's what people do, not what they're called. And if your family makes you feel small so someone else can feel big, you're allowed to walk away. 18 months after the wedding, I got a text, but that didn't change anything. Drop a heart emoji if you've ever had to grieve someone who's still alive. My phone lit up on the nightstand that night. 11:47 p.m. Reed was asleep beside me, his breathing steady and deep. I'd been reading, almost ready to turn off the light. The message was from Sloan. "Bella, I've been in therapy for 6 months now. My therapist helped me see patterns I couldn't see before. I understand now what I took from you. The money, the opportunities, the space to be imperfect. I'm genuinely sorry. I miss you. I miss having a sister. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for a chance to talk. Just coffee. Just us. I want to hear you. Really hear you this time. I'm learning that I was enabled, that I hurt you, that our parents created a dynamic where I got everything and you got expected to be okay with nothing. Could we talk?" I read it twice. My stomach didn't drop. My heart didn't race. I felt nothing. I saved the message to a folder on my phone labeled "Maybe Someday." Didn't delete it, didn't respond. Set my phone back down on the nightstand. Turned off the light. Went back to sleep. Forgiveness isn't owed. Reconciliation isn't required for healing. Some relationships aren't meant to be saved. They're meant to be survived, then left behind. Some of you might think I'm heartless for not responding. But ask yourself, would you give immediate access back to someone who participated in planning your public humiliation? Someone who watched you work 2 jobs while she spent your parents' money? Someone who only found therapy after losing something she wanted? Your presence? The apology came too late, and several betrayals too short. Real change takes time. My peace couldn't wait. I didn't respond immediately out of guilt. Didn't call my mother to discuss it. Didn't even ask Reed's opinion, though he would have supported me either way. Didn't feel guilty at all. What I did do, honored the boundary I'd built. Protected the peace I'd cultivated. Chose myself again. Kept living freely. Recognize this manipulation. Apologies that only come after you've enforced consequences aren't remorse. They're strategy. Real remorse comes before you have to protect yourself. It comes from witnessing harm, not experiencing loss. I sat on our couch that night, weighted blanket across my lap. Reed's breathing steady beside me, house quiet and safe. Moonlight filtering through the oak branches outside. Marsh smell drifting through the cracked window. Feeling nothing but calm. I don't miss them. I miss the version of me who thought their love was real. 2 years after the wedding, something happened at Thanksgiving that proved they'd never change. What happened at Thanksgiving shocked even me. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Present day. Every morning, I unlock the front door of our Minute Pleasant house. The door my parents don't have keys to. That quiet exhale that comes with safety. Coffee on the back porch overlooking the marsh. Reed making breakfast inside, music playing. No dread. No waiting for crisis calls. Planning trips with money we earned and gifts freely given. The dried magnolia from my wedding bouquet hangs in a frame above our bedroom dresser. Not because the wedding was perfect, because that was the day I finally chose myself. The day I proved I could. Family means something different now. Weekly dinners with Geneva and Clark. Game nights with friends who celebrate us, not diminish us. Holidays we choose, not obligations we endure. Love that doesn't cost pieces of yourself. The kind you build. The kind you choose. The kind that doesn't require you to disappear so someone else can shine. They never really apologized. Not my parents. Sloane's text was the closest anyone got. That's the thing about people like this. They don't see themselves as wrong. They see you as difficult, as the problem that disrupted their comfortable pattern. 2 years after the wedding, they showed up at our Thanksgiving dinner, unannounced, with Sloane, said they were ready to move past this. What happened that day? That's another story. One that proved some people never change, they just change tactics. For those of you in the boundary setter community, you already know. The guilt is real, but the freedom is realer. The doubt is loud, but the peace is louder. 3 things I learned. Boundaries need consequences, or they're just suggestions wrapped in hope. Distance isn't cruelty when closeness costs your sanity. Family is what people do consistently, not what they're called. I used to think family meant forever. Now I know it means something better. It means freedom. Sunday mornings with Reed and coffee. The lemon tree blooming in our backyard, fruit actually coming in. The Santorini photo on our living room wall, house filled with laughter, not tension. Marsh sunsets painting everything gold. Peace that doesn't apologize for existing. Every time I lock our door at night, I remember. This is what it feels like to not owe anyone anything. To not be currency in someone else's transaction. To be chosen, not obligated. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some are meant to burn so you can finally see the light on the other side. The Thanksgiving incident? They crossed a line I didn't even know existed. But that's a story that deserves its own telling. If you want to hear what happened when they showed up unannounced with a turkey and fake smiles, comment Thanksgiving below and ensure to subscribe to Revenge with Nick. Because this story didn't end at the wedding. It evolved. Drop a fire emoji if boundaries saved your life too. Still not subscribing? Tell me why in the comments. I genuinely want to understand what's holding you back. I'm Bella. And for the first time in 27 years, I'm finally just mine.